Good morning, students. Welcome back to my class. This is Evermore Guadalupe, your teacher on TLE ICT Computer Hardware Servicing 8. Today, we will be having a new lesson to discuss, which is all about customers and their buying habits. But before I discuss it to you, let me present to you our learning targets or objectives. Okay, objectives. By the end of this lesson, you are expected to understand customers' behavior and their buying habits, and determine the profile potential customer by creating a target customer's profile. So, what is buying habits? Now, in determining the buying habits of a certain customer, you should consider the following. First, how does she or he buy? When does she or he buys? Where from does she or he buys? And last, why does she or he buy the way she or he buys? So the buying habits depend to the consumer behavior. So what is consumer behavior, by the way? So the consumer behavior, this is the study of when, why, how, and where people do or do not buy a product. It basically depends on the psychology of the customer. It attempts to understand the buyer decision-making process both individually and in groups. In study of consumer behavior, main focus is the customer satisfaction, because customer is the only person with those presence business actually exists. So when we say the consumer behavior, it is the action of the customers that drives them to buy and use certain products. Study of consumer buying behavior is most important for marketers, as they can understand the expectation of the consumer. It helps to understand what makes a consumer to buy a product. Next, the type of consumer. So we have the buyer, and another types of the buyer, ultimate consumer and the customer, and then the institutional buyer. Now, first is the consumer. According to the International Dictionary of Management, consumer is a purchase of goods and services for immediate use of consumption. In other words, it is a person who uses the goods or services. A person is known as a consumer. Next is buyer. He or she is the person who purchases goods either for resale or for use in production or for use of somebody else. Next is the customer. He or she is the one who purchases good for his own use, for the use of other, or else he is used regular customer or particular product, and he or she is a regular customer of a particular shop. A customer is also known as buyer or client, whereas the consumer is the ultimate user of the goods. The customer purchases a good for the purpose of the resale or to add value or for his personal use or behalf of the other person. Next is the institution buyer. These are either government institutions or private organizations. So the institution buyer, this is the individual who represent a business. It involves purchasing goods and services to produce another good with intention for selling it. By the way, the ultimate consumer is the person or group that is actually uses or consumes a product. The ultimate consumer might not be the same as the buyer. The individual or entity who buys something is the purchasing agent. Next is the consumer buying decision making process. So first is we have to first process is the need recognition. Next is the information search, and then evaluate of alternatives, then purchase decision, and now post purchase behavior. Now, let us discuss first the first process. So, need recognition. This is a purchase cannot take place without the recognition of the need. The need may have triggered by internal stimuli or such as hunger or thirst, or external stimuli such as advertising. So, according to Maslow's hierarchy, only when a person has fulfilled the need at a certain stage can he or she move to the next stage. Okay, this is the first stage of the consumer decision process, in which the consumer is able to recognize what the problem or need is, and subsequently what product or kind of product would be able to meet this need. So a need can be triggered by internal or external stimuli, which is according to Maslow hierarchy. So you cannot move, according to him, you cannot move to the next stage if you did not fulfill the first stage, which is the need recognition, or the need of a certain state, the need of a consumer rather. Next process is the information search. Okay, customers search information about the various alternatives available to satisfy their wants. These can be obtained through various sources, such as personal sources, which is the family members, friends, and neighbors. The commercial sources, advertising, dealers, salesperson, displays. We have also public sources or mass media, the customer rating organization, and the experiential sources from own or other experience of using a product. So, having recognized a problem or need, the next step a customer may take in an information search stage in order to find out what they feel is the best solution. This is the buyer's effort to search internal and external business environments in order to identify and evaluate information sources related to a central buying decision. Your customer may rely on print, visual, online, or word of mouth for obtaining information. So the factors here, the negative and the positive feedbacks. So in this stage, which is the penultimate stage, is where the purchase takes place. So again, it may be disrupted by two factors: the negative feedback for other customers and the level of motivation rather to accept the feedback, not the positive one. So for example, having gone through the previous three stages, a customer chooses to buy a new telescope. However, because his good friend, a keen astronomer, gives him negative feedback, he will then be bound to change his preference. Furthermore, the decision may be disrupted due to unforeseen situations such as sudden job loss or relocation. Behavior. So at this stage, customers will compare products with their previous expectations and will be either satisfied or dissatisfied. This can greatly affect the decision process for similar purchase from the same company in the future, having a knock-on effect at the information search stage and evaluation of alternative stage. So in brief, customer will compare products with their previous expectation and will be either satisfied or dissatisfied. So therefore, these stages are critical in retaining customer. This can greatly affect the decision process for similar purchases from the same company in the future, having a knock-on effect at the information search stage and evaluation of alternative stage. So if your customer is satisfied This will result in brand loyalty. In the information search and evaluation of alternative stage will often be fast-tracked or skipped altogether. Okay, we are now on factors influencing consumer behavior. We have the cultural, social, personal, psychological, and buyer psychological rather. So it will start in psychological, next by the personal, social, and then cultural. So first is the psychological motivation. These are the motivation, perceptions, learning, beliefs, and the attitudes. In personal, we have age and life cycle, occupation, economic situation, lifestyle, personality, and self-concept. Social, the reference group, family, roles and status, and the last one is the culture, subculture, and the social class for the Okay, factors that influencing buying behavior. First, we have personal factor. The personal demographics or the personal psychographics. We have also socio-cultural factors. The culture or the social factor influence reference group. So demographics. Okay, let me explain for you the demographics. This is the study of a population based on the factors such as the age, race, and sex. So the demographic data refers to a socioeconomic information expressed statistically, also include employment, education, income, marriage rates, birth and death rates, and more factors. The personal psychographics is the okay, these are the information might be your buyer's habits, hobbies, spending habits, and values. The demographics explain who your buyer is, while the psychographic explain why they buy rather. So demographic information includes gender, again the marital status, while the psychographic is the buyer's habits and hobbies. Next is the again demographics of the customer. We have age, is what I've already said earlier, the stage and family cycle, educational, occupation, the economic position, the beliefs. Well, in psychographics of the customer, we have lifestyle, attitudes, self-concept, concern about status, and value system rather. Okay, socio-cultural group. We have culture. The following are under of the culture: the religion, caste, tradition, language. For the social factor or reference group, first we have the intimate group, which is the family. This includes your family, friends, peer groups, close colleagues, and close kinds of organization. We have secondary group, the occupation, profession, or place of residence. The opinion leader, the other seeks guidance from these peoples. And large social class, we have education, wealth, value orientation, occupation or profession, and designation. Okay, information searching from customer from various sources. We can get information from the advertising, promotional campaigns, sample or trials, display in shops, salesmen's or suggestions. So the following, which we can get information from the customer or various sources. So the impulses, we have product motives. The impulses, desires, or consideration that make people buy a given product. So according to the nature of satisfaction sought by the buyer puts them in following two categories: the emotional product motives and the rational product motives. So another classification that takes into account the utility and prestige dimension of a product, the operational product motives in the socio-psychological product motive. So let us define first the emotional product motives. So those impulses that appeal to the buyer's pride or ego, his urge to imitate others, or his desire to be distinctive buying pattern without evaluating the product plus or minus. So the emotional product motive, which induce the prospect to decide to purchase a product without much reasoning. So he can buy a product with his pride, which is people always want to be admired and appreciated by the members of the society. We have fashion or imitation. Fashion or imitation is closely related to motive or pride. The comfort, affection for family, habits. So that's already the emotional product buying motive. Rational product motives. These are careful reasoning or logical analysis need not be found behind such purchases. So the rational buying motives are based on one's thought and judgment. Consumers purchase a product by testing, comparing, and observing the product handling in terms of price, quality, and durability. So, rational buying motives of consumers. Example, so, unlike the emotional product motive, so the rational is the consumer is they're going just if they're going to buy a product, they should first compare it or observe the product in terms of their price and quality or the durability of the product. Operational product motive. A buyer can gain satisfaction from the function or physical utility of a product. So an operational product motive, it is a type of buying motive where a person feels that the product has one's satisfying power. For example, a family buys television because they feel it has utility for them. So that is operational product motives. For the socio-psychological product, a socio-psychological factor attached to the product. So the socio-psychological product are different from operational motives. So because here the customer buys the product because of the prestige attached to it. It must satisfy the psychological need of the buyer of having a product which is perceived high by the society. We have also patronage motives. The impulses, desired, and consideration that makes people buy from particular firm or shop. So, patronage motives, these are reasons or consideration which makes a buyer to prefer one particular retailer, outlet, or service provided over others. Example, the certain customers' preference to buy Samsung mobile phones over Apple iPhone. Behind every buying decision made by the customer, there is a motive. So, emotional patronage motives, I already explained that to you. Those that persuade buyer to buy from a specific shops without much logical reason behind it. Unlike the rational motives, which is the buyer knows that shop will offer a wide selection, latest model, and good after service. Okay, buying habits or shopping behavior. We have convenience goods, shopping goods, and specialty. The convenience goods, products for daily consumption like toothpaste, soap, cigarettes, and etc. The consumer is not prepared to make a special shopping trip for buying such product. Switch to substitute a product or brand that is available in immediate vicinity. Yan, or immediate vicinity. Ma'am Nick. So again, the convenience good or items consumer buy often and easily without putting much thought into them. So these include newspapers, magazine, most groceries items, and petrol. Since consumers have a good sense of how much these items cost, they don't. Okay, another, the shopping goods. These are clothes, shoes, electrical appliance or etc. not purchased frequently. So we have planning following shopping. We have the shopping goods. We should also in shopping goods we have first planning, ready to make it more than one shopping trip, considerable expenditure, compare price, quality, models, and etc. Okay, such examples include the furniture, clothing, video games, mobile phones, fridges, and other white goods. So these are not so easily accessible as convenience goods such as fruit, vegetables, and cereals, nor are they so frequently purchased. The specialty goods. The special goods or high-priced goods include products like cars, luxury watches, high-priced dresses, ornaments, and etc. Okay, first we have substantial investment, periodicity of the purchase is less, no instant decision, cost angle, utility angle, prestige angle. So the entire family takes part in the decision-making process. Again, the specialty goods have particularly unique characteristics and brand identifications for which a significant group of buyers is willing to make a special purchasing effort. Example includes specific brand of fancy products, the luxury cars, again as what I mentioned earlier, professional photographic equipment, and high fashion clothing. We have also types of buying behavior. The complex, dissonance reducing, habitual, and variety seeking. Third, the complex buying behavior. The customer seeks extensive decisions as they are unfamiliar with the product or purchase infrequently. Their products are typically expensive, spend time to look for information. Examples are the house, car, computer. So those are the complex buying behavior. Okay. The complex buying behavior occurs when the customer is highly involved with the purchase and when there are significant differences between brands. So this behavior can be associated with the purchase of a new home or a personal computer. Buying behavior, it's highly involved in the purchase but not able to see the differences among brand choices. Example, the leather sofa, kitchen cabinet. The consumers categorize the difference in according to the price range. So, the dissonance buying behavior, it occurs when the consumer is highly involved but sees little difference between brands. So this is likely to be the case when the purchase of a lawn mower or a diamond ring. Habitual buying behavior, it frequently purchased low-cost items, little search and decision effort. Example, the food, snack, drinks. So a habitual buying behavior is depicted when a consumer has low involvement in a purchase decision. For example, while a consumer buys a loaf of bread, he tends to buy the brand that he is familiar with without actually putting a lot of search and time. So many products fit into this category. We have also the last types is the variety seeking buying behavior. It low consumer involvement, see large difference among brands. Example, the consumers change preference for a certain body soap for variation although satisfied with the current brand. In variety-seeking consumer behavior, the consumer involvement is low. For example, a consumer likes to buy a cookie and choose a brand without putting much thought to it. Next time, the same customer may choose a different brand out of the wish for different taste. So it occurs when the customer is not involved with a purchase yet there is a significant brand differences. So in this case, the cost of switching products is low, and as what I mentioned earlier, the cost of switching products is low, and so the customer or the consumer may perhaps simply out of boredom or move from one brand to another. So we have also characteristics of consumer behavior. The consumer behavior is very complex and dynamic, which keeps on changing constantly. So they change every time. It is a process where the consumer decide what to buy, when to buy, how to buy, and where to buy, and how much to buy. So they also consider the price and quality of the product. The consumer behavior starts before buying and even after buying. So those that I mentioned are the characteristics of the consumer. Market segmentation. So segmentation is essentially an identification of the subsets of buyers within a market that share similar needs and demonstrate similar buyer behavior. So the world is made up a billion of buyers with their own set of needs and behavior. Segmentation made to match different groups of buyers with different set of needs and buyer behavior. A customer is allocated to one market segment by customers' individual characteristics. Example of the characteristics used for segmentation: the gender, price, interest, location, religion, income, size of household. A market segmentation is the activity of dividing a broad consumer or business market, normally consisting or existing of potential customers, into subgroups or customers based on some type shared characteristics. So it is also a process of dividing your target market into approachable groups. It creates subset of a market based on demographic, needs, priorities, common interests, and other psychographic or behavioral criteria used to better understanding target audience. So we have also process of market segmentation. We have established overall strategy, decide the basis for the segmentation. Then next is select segmentation variables. The profile the segmentation, evaluate segmentation attractiveness, and last process is select segments. So those are the habitual consumer are those who feel compelled to use certain brands or type of goods. Marketers work hard to create brand loyalty among this type of consumer. It may be as simple as always choosing the same brand or deodorant, the same brand of soda, or shopping in the same store for groceries or clothes. So advertising often encourages a person associated with a specific product to appeal to habitual customer. Again, consumer rather. So again, as what I mentioned earlier about the habitual buying behavior, so it occurs when involvement allow differences between brands are small. So consumer in this case are usually do not form a strong attitude toward the brand but select it because it is familiar. So consumer profile, we have consumer profiling. Consumer profile is a way of describing a consumer categorically so that they can be grouped for marketing and advertising purposes. By target advertising to a specific market segment, companies and marketers can find more success in selling a particular product and increase profits. So the consumer profiling, it is a method of providing detailed information about a target market and helping businesses to gain an in-depth insight into their customers so they understand their market much better. So we have also consumer profile definition. Before marketing a product to potential customers, you will need to define your target customer based on their lifestyle, age, location, income, interest, buying patterns, purchasing preference, and stage of life. A consumer profile is description of a customer or a set of customers based on the characteristics that they have in common. So by using the market segmentation to create consumer profiles, no matter how targeted your product, there will be some variation in your ideal customer. For example, your customers might all be the same age but live in different geographic regions. You offer product at different price point to allow you to reach customers at different income levels. You offer one product that can appeal to customers with different interests, Some of your customers watch network TV while others are more likely to see advertising on social media. So those are, you should consider those in using the market segmentation in order to create a creating multiple consumer profiles allows you to segment your customers based on these differences. So you can then use the market segmentation, is what I explained earlier, to create advertising that is more successful with different groups of customers. So there are many different traits that can be used to segment customer groups, such as, so the demographic, as what I mentioned, the age, consider the age, city or region of residence, gender, race, ethnicity, or household composition. We have the socioeconomic. This is, you should consider the income, educational attainment, occupation, neighborhood or association membership. The brand affinity or product usage, product engagement, purchasing history or level of brand loyalty. We have psychographics, the lifestyle, life stage, personality, attitudes, opinion, or voting behavior. Generation, the specific generation cohort group. We have also geography, the geographical area in which consumer reside and work. We have the geodemographics, that combines geography and demographics, which may cluster into identifiable groups. The benefits, what consumers are looking for when they shop for products and services. Next is consumer profiles are often used by marketing researchers, many of whom develop proprietary consumer profiles or use panels of consumers who have been classified according to their common attributes. However, any business should create consumer profile to allow for more targeted marketing and advertising. You don't have to work with a market research firms to create useful consumer profile. So that's the end of our lesson brothers. If do you have any question? So if none, you can go to GAITF e-learning site, the www.gait.com. I already uploaded the presentation. You can review our lesson there. I already uploaded also the activity and quiz, so you can answer it there. And if you have any question or clarification with regards to our lesson or activity, you can message or call me with this number, 0908-50-90244. Thank you for listening, and God bless everyone.